So welcome to Cooking Fun with Joanna, with me, your host, Joanna Hodorowska. My company is Nutrition in Motion, and I help you actually relieve your chronic pain and health issues through food, nutrition, mindset, and healthy cooking. So it's really all about putting joy back into activities and putting nutritious food into your belly. And actually absorbing it well. So we were just talking a little bit before we started the recording about stool analysis testing. And that is something where the microbiome is really a key part of gut health. It's the key part of immune health. And it also is overall body health. Because if your gut's out of whack, then you may have mood issues. You might have eating compulsions. Metabolic issues, as well as autoimmune issues and GI distress. Or like me, you may have not autoimmune issues. I know that runs in my family, but arthritis. So if we want to reverse that, the stool analysis is the way to do it. But today we are going to be making spiced pork chops or loins with parsnips and Apricot Agridolce. So if you didn't find parsnips, then you can use potatoes, carrots, or I'm going to use a celery root. So we're going to be cutting those into matchsticks, and we'll go over that in a bit. But your ingredients are going to be 2 chili powder, cumin, salt, cinnamon, pepper, obviously the pork chops, parsnips, some olive oil, an onion, dried apricots, raw apple cider vinegar, honey, chicken broth or vegetable broth, and then some sliced almonds and fresh parsley. Got all that?
Yep.
So the first thing we're going to do, because we're going to have asparagus on the side, so you need asparagus. So I bought 2 things of asparagus. You're actually going to heat the oven to probably 325 or 350. And we're gonna actually put these in so that they bake while we are making the other part. So I found this as an easy way of trimming asparagus. I mean, you could just take your big knife and chop off 2 inches off the bottom, but you could play like I do, where you just push on it and it breaks off where that hard pithy part is. So that they're not all even, but they're all broken off and you don't have that pithy part. So we're gonna do that first. I did a talk today for a women's group, and we were talking about, when you're under stress, one of the things you want to add into your diet is green vegetables. But, a lot of times, people talk about green vegetables and like, oh, you just have to add green vegetables. But the reason why you want to add green vegetables is because they have the antioxidants. And when you're stressed, you are creating free radicals. So this actually, and, when you're stressed, typically you age yourself faster. So if you want to stop aging yourself, then you eat more green vegetables. Then a lot of the B vitamins are also in green vegetables, and B vitamins are the things that give you a lot of energy. So when you're stressed, you pretty much blow through all those B vitamins at a much higher rate, and you need to replenish those. So when you're stressed, eating those greens is a good thing to do. Plus, it gives you the fiber and the long fibers that you need to feed that microbiome so that you're strengthening your immune system. And then the darker the green, then it has more calcium and magnesium in it. And calcium and magnesium help to help the muscles to relax. So it has very much a calming effect. A lot of times when you go to your chiropractor, they'll put some magnesium cream on your aching area so that, or on your knot, so that it relaxes. We also use essential oils for that because I like essential oils and I like the way they smell. But the green vegetables, the darker the green, the more the calcium and magnesium you have, so then you'll have less tight muscles. So we're gonna take that asparagus and lay it across the pan. And don't put the rubber band down there. I don't think it's edible. It might add color though. And then if you're like me and have a misto sprayer, I fill this with olive oil, and then you can just spray the asparagus with olive oil. And my jewelry is knocking against the tin container. But if you don't have a sprayer, then just pour it lightly over it so that you get a decent covering of the asparagus. That's the easy part. Then you're gonna put a little bit of sea salt on it. And then you're gonna put it in the oven, and we're gonna put it in there for 25 minutes. So that's what it looks like. I'm gonna have lots of asparagus for today and tomorrow. That means I get to cook less often. And then I can have it cold or I can warm it up. But you're gonna put that in the middle of your oven. I'm gonna set the timer for 20 minutes so that at least we have, 20 minutes, so at least we don't have to look at that anymore. And then I want you to turn your one of the burners on. So you're going to turn the burner on. If you've got an element with electricity, then you will turn that on to high. If you've got gas, then it'll be on low to medium. And if anybody wants to add some extra anti-inflammatory properties, we are going to add some turmeric root into this recipe. So we are first going to cut the onion into half moons. So they're going to be just little slices. So we're not going to dice it. We're just going to slice it into half moons. So we're going to peel that onion. Cut the bottom off. Peel that outer layer and leave the tail on so that when it gets near the end, you can hold on to it better. We're going to basically cut into two pieces, two layers of the onion. And then with that big sharp knife, you're just going to hold on to that onion with 3 fingers, sometimes 4, and then cut it into like 1/4 inch slices. And after we do this half of an onion, and then as you get closer to the bottom, you can dig your fingernails into it so that it doesn't slip, or you can just hold on to that tail. But it gets a little slippery near the end regardless. So your pan is heated up. You're going to put your 2 tablespoons of olive oil in here. If you want a little butter, you can put that in too, just to give it a little extra flavor. That's what I'm going to do, add a little bit of that. Make sure it's covering the pan.
Oh, shit.
And then put your onions into it and then proceed to cut the other half. Right now my pan is not quite warmed up because it didn't sizzle, which may be a good thing because I still have to cut the other half of the onion. So you're going to peel the 2 layers off the onion. Make sure that this little extra, almost invisible sheath is off because that will make the knife slip. So make sure that that is off. Keep the tail on, grab your big butcher knife, and slice the second half of the onion. And because I do so much work with the anti-inflammatory diet and, you know, rebuilding the gut, onions and garlic and leek, those are the alliums, and those actually help to build immunity in the gut and feed the good biota. So if you want healthier flora, keep eating your onions. And keep eating your garlic too. And I'm just gonna make sure that the onions are covering the pan. It's kind of weird that I end up using the knife to spread it all out. But we're gonna try to caramelize that, but we're also now going to cut the parsnips or the potatoes or the carrots or whatever root vegetable you managed to find at the grocery store, because I did not find parsnips. So I am going to cut my celery root into matchsticks and then add that to the. Shannon, what did you end up getting at the grocery store?
I got parsnips.
All right, so yours is gonna come out the way it's supposed to. You can just bring me some tomorrow so that I can see how it tastes.
Okay.
I ended up, the grocery store did not have parsnips, so I decided to use the celery root. Could have used turnips too, but I like the flavor of parsnips celery root, and I thought that would actually go well with the apricots. So now that I peeled that, you know how to make that, cut everything into matchsticks, right?
The parsnips?
Pardon me?
Cut the parsnips in matchsticks?
Cut the parsnips into matchsticks.
Okay.
And I'm putting my celery root into matchsticks. And then just as you cut it, you can throw it into the pan, because we want these to cook a little bit before we get to the next step. Oh, I kind of just realized I messed up a bit, but that's okay. It'll all turn out. This is the fun part about cooking, is you can mess up. And if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. But in baking, if you mess up, you can't recover. You basically have to start over.
Nope, you got to start over.
Yep. Done that before. I actually, there's one time I made biscotti, and I have this great recipe for hazelnut biscotti, and I forgot to put the sugar into them. So they still turned out, but I ended up covering the ends with, dipped them in chocolate.
Oh, okay, right.
So that time I was able to recover, but I'm actually surprised that the whole thing turned out even without sugar in it.
Well, I made something. It was something that it was the chicken corn chowder soup that I usually make, and I had I grabbed the wrong flour, and it was like the quick rising flour.
Uh-huh.
So, and it was just supposed to be regular flour, and we couldn't figure out why. Like I had a whole pot, like a 14-quart pot of soup. Could not figure out why this thing was like sizzling and popping and making all kinds of weird sounds. And here I realized that I tasted it and it was sour, and I realized what I did. It was like, oops.
Yeah. So I'm gonna add some of my turmeric into it, and I'm not gonna put a huge amount, but I'm gonna kind of dice it up into small pieces and add that into the dish too. anything that we can do to add more anti-inflammatory properties, right? And if I don't add too much of it, then it won't overpower the dish either. But with the flavors that it has, it should be fine if I just put in a.
Yeah, it's one of those things I have to invest in now as a thing of turmeric root.
Whole Foods has it. Actually, Wegmans now has it. I was there Sunday, and they have some kind of an Indian turmeric root. So that was kind of cool.
I was gonna say, and you could keep that in the freezer like you do ginger, right?
I've never frozen it. I actually keep it in the refrigerator, and I don't keep it in the bag. I take it. I'll show you what I do. Although this is what I just put it into a bowl, and granted, this is ginger, but I just leave it like this in a bowl. And the turmeric root right now, I have it in a bag, but I left the bag open.
Okay.
Because I'd rather have it dry out than get moldy.
Yeah, because my ginger I keep it in the freezer.
Okay.
And it works. I mean, it works great. And then I just grate it when I need it.
Right. So now the thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take those apricots, those dried apricots. You can open the package, then you can do the dried apricots. But we're gonna cut them in quarters. And they're a little sticky. So you can just cut them in quarters. If you want them smaller than that, you can do that too. I might actually cut them into 6. Put that in a bowl. I'm gonna basically do, let's see, that was 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do 8 apricots. And then you're gonna cover them with the apple cider vinegar. And let them kind of marinate. So you're going to use 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with your chopped apricots. And then you're going to have to go wash your hands because the apricots are sticky. Or maybe not.
Yeah, these actually weren't too bad.
Mine are pretty sticky. I mean, they're not terrible, but they're pretty sticky. And where's my tablespoon? Where's my tablespoon measurer? Half a teaspoon. Well, I only have a teaspoon measurer, so you need two tablespoons. So that'll be 6 teaspoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm gonna feel like I'm on Sesame Street. We're gonna be like the Count. 6. Ha 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 ha.
7.
No, we're only doing 6. But you know, when you can't find a tablespoon measuring spoon, then you improvise. So the meal doesn't look that exciting yet, but nothing's browning quite yet. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit more. So you can see now my heat is up. And then I might be able to get this to be caramelized. I'm going to go ahead and stir it so that the oil covers all of the vegetables in here. And then after you stir everything, We're just gonna let that sit there and kind of simmer. You're going to actually put the cumin, salt, cinnamon, and pepper in with the apricot. So it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We're not putting it on the meat, we're putting it actually on in the sauce. So you're putting in 1 teaspoon of cumin. Maybe I should put the cumin. I almost put the chili powder. 1 teaspoon of chili powder. If you want it hotter, you can put in 2. Then 1 teaspoon of cumin. It's really hard to shake it out sometimes. Creating a split in and it's still inching out slowly. Then 1/2 teaspoon of salt.
And we're putting this all in with the apricots, right?
We're gonna put the salt in with the apricots, yep. And then there's a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I forgot to get that one. Oh, you know what? I don't have cinnamon. All right, mine's not having cinnamon because I ran out of cinnamon. Maybe I'll use allspice.
I was gonna say, do you have allspice?
Yeah, allspice has. What does allspice have?
It doesn't. It's ground. Isn't it ground juniper berries? Or it's its own spice. Allspice is its own.
It doesn't even say.
It's its own spice. I think it's ground juniper berries. I'm not positive, but it's its own spice.
Well, I'm gonna put a little bit of that in there instead of cinnamon.
Yeah, because I originally thought allspice was like a combination,
Berries, so yeah, you're right.
but it's not. It's actually its own spice.
Right. Well, I was thinking it was something else, but so we're just gonna mix that together.
Yeah, it's actually its own thing, and it's related to. It says it's related to clove.
All right. Well, so mine's
Yeah,
mine's gonna have a hint of clove in it rather than cinnamon.
yeah, clove, cinnamon, and nutmeg is the taste.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank Wikipedia or all recipes. I always look up substitutions on all recipes when I don't have something.
Yeah. Well, that's one that there is no substitute for cinnamon. So it should be starting to brown. And mine is definitely starting to brown. The carrots are starting, or carrots. The onions are caramelizing, and the celery root is so give it another stir. And if you want to cook it a little faster, you could also put the lid on it. So now while we're doing that, I have a whole pork loin. So I am going to cut that into strips. Got the whole tenderloin instead of pork chop loins. So I'm going to cut it into 1/2-inch strips. I'm probably not going to use the whole thing, because otherwise I'll have too much food. Although there is no such thing as too much food, because I can always freeze all this stuff, but I might just leave it at 1/2 of it instead of the whole thing. Since I have it, I'm gonna just cut it off so that when I need it for something else, I'll have it cut. What are you chopping away over there?
The almonds, because I didn't get sliced almonds, so
Okay.
I'm chopping them with the chopper.
Excellent. Excellent.
Good way to get your frustrations out.
You can either get your frustrations out that way, or you get some crunchy chips and chew on those. All right, so now we're gonna just kind of make a hole in the middle here, and we're gonna put the pork loins into the middle. So we're gonna sear these little babies.
Yeah, I like when we make these recipes and there's leftovers.
That's always the best part. Leftovers. Well, maybe not always, but I think it's one of the pluses. One of the bonuses. You learn some new combinations. And then in a couple minutes, we're gonna flip these babies over. So we want to brown them on each side. So that was my timer. So I am going to check out what the asparagus looks like. I'm going to show you what mine looks like. Hopefully you can see. But that's what my asparagus looks like. Out the tray, and that actually looks like it's almost done. So I'm going to turn the oven off and just leave them in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if yours looks like that, where it's a little bit starting to shrivel up, then they'll basically be perfectly done. And you could probably let some of the air out, but I would just turn the oven off and let them get to where they need to be. And I'm going to use tongs to flip. So you're waiting for the edges to become more white. And once that white starts coming around the edge of the top, then we're going to flip them over. How's yours looking?
Good.
So the other thing that we're going to do in a minute is we're going to actually take the pork out and put the sauce in with a little bit of the vegetable broth. So you'll want a plate to put the pork on. We're going to do that for a few minutes and let everything else simmer together. But I would say 1 more minute and we'll flip it over. No, I think we can flip it over now. You can see it's nicely browned. That is what you want, nicely browned. Then you can move the vegetables around a bit. I'm going to put a little bit of the sea salt on top of my pork chops too. Oh, we never put the pepper in. So if you want to put pepper on your pork chops, you can do that now. And then 2 more minutes and we're going to fish that pork out of there. One more minute, and we're gonna take the pork chops out and put the spiced apricots in with a little bit of vegetable broth. All right, so it's time to take those little pork chops off. Let me just mine over real quick. And then we're going to put the apricot and the broth into the pan. move everything back to the middle again. And you're gonna put the apricots in. And try to get all the spices that go with it. And sometimes you have to take a couple of the pieces of the vegetables and put them in there. Scoop out all the spices, and then you're gonna put in half a cup of the chicken broth or local vegetable broth. Now it smells really good.
Did you put almonds in here yet?
No, that's going in at the end. But take some of that broth and kind of put it in that bowl of with all the spices. If it's the way to get some of that, all the spices in there. Then you're just going to mix it all around. We're going to do this for 5 minutes. And then we're going to put the pork back in. The almonds are actually just a garnish at the end along with the parsley. So we might as well, while we're doing nothing, chop up some of that parsley so that we have that to put on at the end. So my suggestion is you need a whole nother, a whole knife and a cutting board because you just cut the meat on this one. I'm gonna move that out of the way. Board. A knife. I have another butcher knife. I'm gonna chop up the parsley. What you want to do with the parsley is really bunch it up really tight, and then just cut little, like 1/4-inch slices. And I probably have too much of parsley, but parsley is also anti-inflammatory, and this is one of those really dark green vegetables that you want to include in your meals, especially raw.
What? What?
Kenny? Is that your dog? Okay, so now we're gonna put the pork back in. We're gonna put the pork back in, try to get it covered in with all the flavors. And then we're gonna cover it. I'm gonna put it, I'm rotating all of my pieces of pork so that they get covered with the sauce. And then we're gonna cover the whole thing. Let it simmer.
something to fall, waiting for something to fall.
It's almost
Yeah.
done. How's everybody's turning out? How's it coming along?
Good.
Hardest part, waiting. Make sure you have, we're gonna take the asparagus out in a minute. You wanna make sure that you use a mitt. So this is what the asparagus should look like. See, I was just a little bit wilted. It's looking a little shriveled. That is actually perfect asparagus. So go ahead and check your asparagus and see how that is. Take it out if it's ready. And then in a couple minutes, we will have our pork.
I have to feed him.
Hi, Steve.
Bye.
You can add a half a cup of the slivered almonds and the parsley right before we serve.
You have to feed him. Right. And then you can put his leather on over his sweater.
The one thing you can do too, if you're not sure if it's ready or not, is you can take the lid off and then take your knife and cut one of the pieces and see how cooked it is. Right now, it needs another minute or two because it's not completely white on the inside. Just to be sure, I think we should cook it for 5 minutes. But I'm gonna add the almonds now. I think they'll look pretty. And I'm gonna add half of the parsley. But I have to say, it smells good.
But it smells really good.
Yeah.
Use my snack drawer. So down below, so I have all of the fitness boards, all of the
So I'm gonna put a different piece and see if that one's cooked.
since they're all closed up, I put
Is
the
that a
bag.
little impatient? So
Put them
let's
in the
take
bottom
another
row,
piece to see if that's cooked.
like frozen stuff,
Slice that in half.
eggs and shit.
And now it's looking a lot closer to being cooked than it did before. So one more minute. One more minute till this fabulous meal can be put on your plate. Shannon, how's yours turning out? I think she's on silent.
There I am. It's coming along.
Is it at least smelling good in your kitchen?
Yes, it definitely smells good.
And did the asparagus cook?
Yep.
Yep.
Gotta get that out of the oven.
Well, now you know that you have to cook the asparagus first. Anytime you have to put anything in the oven, put that in first, and then cook the rest of the meal. Because if you do it the other way around, then you're waiting for another extra 20 minutes for the asparagus. You don't want that. All right, so I'm gonna move you back here and you get to see me. Maybe that's not a good thing, but I am going to serve mine because the thing is ready. So you might want to also check your meat. If all the liquid has evaporated, you might need to add just a teeny bit more of the broth into it. I need a serving utensil is what I need. But I'm going to take a picture of this because it looks really good.
Three of us. Shannon's on too.
All right. Anybody else ready to put theirs on a plate? Anybody else ready to put theirs on a plate?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's what mine looks like.
Yum.
Anybody else have theirs ready?
No.
Getting there.
I think I actually did a fairly decent job with presentation this time. You know?
Yeah.
If you were in a restaurant, I think I would have to do better. But good thing it's only just me, so I don't have to be so picky. I think in a restaurant, I would have to line up the asparagus a little bit nicer.
We'd have them like crisscross, one going this way.
Maybe, make a little teepee out of it, That's why I don't think I could be a really good short order cook. Because I couldn't be a chef either because my presentation is lacking. That's probably a learned skill, but I haven't learned that one yet. So what's yours look like?
Let's see. Can you see mine?
Yes. Awesome. So now we dig in, right? Let's see how it all tastes together. And Shannon is the only one that has the true original recipe because she's the only one that got parsnips. The rest of us, we're not so fortunate. But
A cup of coffee with mom.
that It's really good.
Mom. Okay.
Has anybody, Gina, have you tried yours yet?
Yeah. What?
Have you tried it yet?
Yeah, actually, it's good. I tried a piece of the pork. I didn't try it like all together.
Try it all together. It is pretty amazing. And there's like just enough spicy with a little bit of sweet.
Yeah, the pork was good in it. Yeah.
Onions. It is really, really delicious.
Yeah, you smell like. Yeah, that's good.
It sounds like somebody's pureeing something over there.
That's me. I cook more pork.
Oh, you cooked more pork?
Yeah. Too many people over here.
Yeah, you have 4. I have 1.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But it's all good. I still think you know, if the kids could come help, that would be special.
It would be better if I actually got my act together faster than half an hour before. I was still food shopping at 4:15.
Ah, well, maybe that's why you got parsnips and I did not.
That's right.
But you're in for a treat. And this works really well with the, what do you call it? With asparagus and with parsnips. I mean, I have celery root.
Yes, the asparagus is delicious. I tried that.
Sometimes Christmas class are actually every week.
Yeah.
All right, Shane gives his approval too.
Pardon me?
I said Shane gives his approval. I just dropped a little piece of pork on the floor and he gives his approval.
Something the whole family can eat.
Yeah, this is good.
So now you know what Apricot Agridolce is. So on the 19th, we are making creamy chicken marsala with prosciutto, mushrooms, and sauteed spinach and kale. Maybe we'll
Yum.
do chard, you know, but
Awesome.
be a nice little combination. So February 19th, creamy chicken marsala with prosciutto, mushrooms, and sauteed spinach and kale.
That sounds good.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me today on
Thank you.
episode of Cooking Fun with Joanna, as we made our spiced pork chops or spiced pork loins with parsnips and apricot agridolce and roasted asparagus. Enjoy and see you again in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.